Hello everybody, it is Mike Levin on Friday, February 26, 2021. And I just restarted my machine from a Windows update, and I thought I'd give you a complete top-down view of my day. So of course I'm in screen 1 of my virtual desktops, and from here I do Control-Alt-T to bring up a terminal. While this has a tab on it by default, I oftentimes get rid of that tab so it's full screen focus, and then I always know that I'm in my journal. CD GitHub, CD journal, vim journal.txt. And then I do my keyboard macro to start a new day, but I'm going to undo that because I already started today. I have some good notes for today. I'm going to set up a new GitHub repo with nbdev activated in it, and then start making a new SEO library, SEO dev, in the spirit of nbdev, and give it new structure by doing an nbdev new in there that sets up the initial files. And then we're going to do a couple of edits using the nbdev system to start some good habits. I have the motivation. I'm figuring this out. You see from my series of videos, so good motivation becomes good habits, and I have to start turning this into habits. That's what this video is about. And then we'll put a few good assert tests in there and do our git commit and push, and that'll basically be it. It's kind of like a hello world for nbdev. Is kind of what we're talking about here. And to that end, we'll go to screen 2, right? So screen 2 of my virtual screens. This is always my next keyboard shortcut. Control-Alt-L for Jupyter Labs. Again, I'm trying to make new habits. It used to be Control-Alt-J for Jupyter, but I want to think about Labs a little bit more because I'm switching over to this new interface. You can see my last project here where I just started to practice with nbdev is there. We're not going to want any of that, so I'm just going to close out all that stuff because we're going to do this over. When you close all your tabs, you get your launcher. I'm still in that directory. I go to GitHub, where you can see here my personal GitHub. It's in my home directory. You can see this is a great way to start keeping track of your various repos. That's a folder I'm always in. So I'm on my 3rd virtual desktop. Sometimes I draw here, but today I will be doing another Control-T for tab for terminal. And here I'm in my Windows home directory. I CD into GitHub. I do an ls. You'll see these same things that you see over here. And just to keep things clean in my mind, rm remove recursive enforced nb test1 nb test2, and you'll see the corresponding changes happen here. It's not instantaneous, but in not too long it just automatically pops and updates. There, you saw it happen. If you're impatient, you can just hit the refresh. This is where the last few tutorials have been based around, and these are the few repos I pulled over to my new machine in order to start settling in. So, clear. I'm going to make a new repo here. mkdir makedir, that's standard Linux / Unix command. SEO ML, ML for whatever you like Levin, markup language, machine learning. CD into it. ls-la. It's a completely empty directory until we git init. We do our same ls-la, and you'll see now there's a .git folder in there where all of Git's secret files for version control are kept. A lot of database-like stuff happens in there. So it is only just an empty repo right now. There is no there's not enough to do nbdev new, right? I'm tempted right now to do nbdev new and to turn this repo into an npdev repo that has enhanced capabilities, some special fairy pixie dust sprinkled onto it, but that would generate an error, I know from earlier videos. The instructions, whose queue I'm following in all this talk, by the way, is nbdev.fast.ai. There are instructions given here on this main page, which brings you down to this. The whole page should probably just be this. There's so much important information under installing here. One of the main ones, well, and this immediately beneath it, is that you really need to be looking at the tutorial and the minimal end-to-end example, plus this home page. Those are the 3 tabs of, in today's state, February 26, 2021, that you have to look at and think about in order to grok this whole thing. And there is a lot to grok. It's not entirely straightforward. So we have it installed, and we're going to do this path, but it says to create a new from an existing GitHub repo that you have cloned locally. So I only just made this. I didn't clone SEOML locally, so I guess we have to put a file in there, touchfoo.txt, again on a Unix or Linux environment. You can do little things like touch, which will just drop a file into there, git add foo.txt, git commit, all files with a message, my foo. Okay, now we can't git push it because it doesn't know where the URL for this repo is. Every repo has a place it lives remote repository wise. So to do that, we just pop back over to here. We go to GitHub. I'm pretty much always signed in, so that's not going to be a problem. And I add a new repository. And we're going to call it the same name as the file we just made over there. That's all kind of pretty important. SEOML. And I will make it public because it has to be public at first in order for the installing the GitHub hooks extensions are required, because it's going to go and look for it. And if it's private, it can't find it. We don't need to do any of this because all that stuff is going to be taken care of, I believe, by nbdev new. So we create the repository, and then we make sure that we're on HTTPS. This is an important thing, especially if you have your keys set up for yourself. You are not going to need to enter usernames and passwords when you do the command line git stuff, and that's actually quite important. We tell it that the branch we're working on is main because we've done everything above that. And then we tell it what the remote origin is, and you actually look at that remote origin, because if that says HTTPS there, you're going to be in password heck pretty soon. So you don't want that. You want to make sure that you're making the remote origin a SSH protocol origin. I'll just switch it so you can see the difference there. HTTP and SSH have 2 different URLs. Things are found differently. By the way, when you clone, this is what you're going to want to clone to, the SSH version of it, again, to avoid passwords. This last step is git push -u origin main. It's the only time you'll have to push with -u origin main. It's the only time you're going to have to push with that. Every time after that, you just have to do a normal push. Okay? So, whereas there were instructions here before, we do a refresh. It's no longer instructions. There it is. There's my foo file residing on GitHub, right? There's not even anything in it. So, I am going to cd ... remove forced SEOML. Git clone the address I just copied. I've now just copied I've now just cloned that repo down from GitHub instead of having what I really just did made it here. So clear your screen, clear your mind. nbdev new. Oh no, Control C, clear, cd scoml, nbdev new. Yay, look at that, executing, config local path, and success. Now, if we look in there, it was only just foo in there. foo.txt was my only thing here. Now it's got all this stuff. Clear, ls-la. Let's just revel in that. I've done my first successful nbdev new. I am doing it under the Windows subsystem for Linux here. You can see my forward slashes in my paths, not backslashes. And I don't really technically have to be doing that because, well, let's see. Let's do this again. Let's delete everything but foo. Remove star. That just undid. Oh, okay, cannot do rm-rf star. Can I do that? Recursive ls, touch foo.txt. It was empty anyway. Clear, git status, right? So there are a few invisible things that are actually there. I'm going to remove, oh, interesting. I might even have removed the .git. I am going to cd rm-rf, the whole directory again. Clear. And then I'll just clone it down again. Now the clone command I'll do from the Linux side. But now I'm going to go to my new Anaconda PowerShell base. From my learnings from my previous video, I turned my drop-down menu option for my Anaconda prompt into PowerShell base, and I got rid of the Pi38 because I was not able to use it successfully. So, cd, watch this, se tab, oops, se tab. This is command line completion under PowerShell. Looks a little bit different, doesn't it? It's everything in your path it could do for that. Oh yeah, it's GitHub, right? I was trying to jump right into my directory. But command line completion is actually there for PowerShell, where it isn't for command prompt. cd s tab. And now I can do an ls because PowerShell has a lot of the Linux-like commands implemented. For all the Linux people who had to use Windows, there's a lot of concessions built into PowerShell to Linux administrators who had to live in the Windows environment. So that's what you're looking at here, where it's really where it's backslashes but still has a lot of Linux-like stuff in it. And I say that because nbdev _tab actually does work in PowerShell. See that? Now I happen to know we want new, right? I was going to do new without an extension, but since I see it in here, I'm going around the whole thing until I find it again. I'm going to do it this way because, you know, I know it's found it. It's there. And it should work. Oh, it did not work. System cannot find the file specified. Now I'm in the directory and I'm following the command. So even though I was able to get the story behind this at least working insofar as it is, finding the commands, is that I did a pip install of nbdev instead of a conda install of nbdev. And now these commands can be found, although I can see they're not necessarily all they're cracked up to be. So if you are on Windows, it is still good advice to install Ubuntu on Windows, because things just don't go wrong as common. nbdev _tab. There's your options. New is the one we want. And, you know, ls-la. back to where we were. Okay, so that little divergent, in order to see how it works under the native Windows version, if you've installed nbdev under Windows. So as you can see, I'm still going to prefer to do my stuff under a true Linux prompt. So we've got our files. Now we do a git status and we see what it looks like. I don't know what all here we're supposed to add to the git repo, but doing that nbdev new as we did appears to have not added anything that is automatically tracked by the repo. That is very interesting. That makes me feel that when the package directory is created, we might want to add it to that repo and have just everything tracked together. You'll see the synchronization of whatever files I make as a result of editing core. Well, let me just do it. This is all so abstract, and this is the steep learning curve of nbdev that I'm trying to get over. And again, we check my to-do list for today. We made it. We ran nbdev, and we want to make a comment in core and edit index.ipynb. So let's do that. We go back to Jupyter Lab, SEOML. Here's our two notebooks, core. This is the default that's in core. If we, this is really bare bones. We have to say export. We have to make our export comment. Export. And if we do that export comment, anything we put here, def, I'm going to start out with a hello world again, because this is still really, really basic scaffolding. Okay, so at its most basic, we should be able to do nbdev build lib. Now it's a before and after. Notice there is no directory called, I believe it's going to be core. Oh yeah, we can't do this just right off the bat because we have to edit our setup settings.ini. That attempt to build this isn't going to work until we have some stuff set. So our host is GitHub, our lib name is that. We're going to need to fill a few of these in. The key error, that was a key error, so something was required that it didn't get. Copyright, so you got to put in your copyright. Clear, build lib, description. And this is going to be in the real Git repo history for this, so it's in there, successful. Again, clear, nbdev build lib. Converted, ls hyphen, SEOML, the name of the package was created. So this is the before and after. If we do a git status, or you remember the way you were looking at it before, I was scanning up and down looking for something that might be named core after this. However, it's the name of the repo. It trickles down, which is a good idea. So we have an SEOML directory inside our SEOML directory. And if we cd in there, and that double directory, that being inside of that is actually good. This is the preferred packaging arrangement for the PyPy Python packaging index system. If we ls in there, you can see these are the files that are automatically output from that command that we just did, the build lib. And if we look inside of core, there is our hello function. Okay, so I'm starting to kind of grok the system. cd ... get status. So there's really no reason to have two Git repos, two GitHub repos for this one project. You can just see all the stuff in here that probably should be under the Git repo system. So a little acknowledged step in doing this in nbdev tutorials is that you want to start adding this stuff, the stuff that matters to you, to your repo. In fact, you might want to add everything that doesn't have credentials in it. I don't see why you wouldn't track it all. A lot of it's auto-generated, so that's one of the reasons you wouldn't track it all, because you generally don't want to track auto-generated stuff. But there is some auto-generated stuff I do want to track, because my way of deploying this on an actual server is just going to be to git clone the same repo. And as it lives on a production server, it just reaches down into this location. In fact, if I use, that's the way I would do it, because I wouldn't use PyPy for the kinds of scheduled projects I have, maybe for libraries I make in doing them, but not for the projects themselves. So I'm hesitant to just git add everything in there, but we certainly want to git add 00 core, right? That's where a lot of this stuff is being held. It's where we do a lot of our changes. The index.ipynb is another thing that should be added, because that's what creates our homepage and our README. And we're going to actually go in there and edit these two things, right? That's my my journal now, right? We're up to that step there, make an edit in core and index.ipynb. We did core already, and so we go into index.ipynb. We try and do a before and after. We cd into docs, we do an ls. There's a bunch of stuff there, but there is no index.html, so this is our before. Project name here, this will become your README file. This is how you install it, how you use. Please fill me in, please. Don't forget code examples. Now this isn't actually going to execute, because that library, this function is in a different thing over there. So if I'm talking about what it is, we switch it to say markdown. And I say a headline. Okay, so there's just something in there is all I'm going for. And then there's a new command. That's, I'll open a new Ubuntu. cd github, cd sco, nbdev build docs. Okay, I go over here. I do that ls again, and now you see there's a lot more in that docs directory than there was before. So we have now finished for my to-do list of that item there. Now we want to run tests, right? So the basic use of nbdev has you just putting tests right in the notebook. There's that main getting started. This is the tutorial, setting up the repo, editing cores, putting stuff in, building the library, editing your docs, building your docs, committing to GitHub. Okay, so it's not the tests yet. I know I'm looking for assert. Yeah, this is just a test here. Assert. Remember, we now have these two files we're working on. We don't need the launcher, the settings.ini, we're not going to need to look at again. So we're really talking about your actual live code with embedded documentation and your homepage and README documentation. This is kind of like auto-generated docs that it's going to have. So we'll put our little assert in there. Okay, so there is a test in there too. Change my function to take a name, and I'll put that in the old-fashioned way. So it has one required position argument. You actually have to give it. Assertion error equals, what it should equal, of course. It's always going to say hello you. Well, hello name, hello you, right? Okay, so I just want to put you here, and then that should say hello you. So Jeremy is the name of the guy who actually made this. So let's just figure out why it's not. Oh yeah, the exclamation point. I can put that right here. There, the assertion now succeeds. We've made a test. Congratulations. You have a test built in because the system, nbdev, knows to run those assertions and to, to run those assertions. Otherwise, the tests fail. I believe it has to do with git hooks and stuff. I'll be learning this as I go, but now I've certainly made a number of changes. And so I can cd ... clear ls. This is the contents of our directory. nbdev build lib. I have a feeling that's going to be my real go-to command. This is the habit I'm trying to form. nbdev build lib. There's also build docs, but we want to make sure that I have down these final things for the commit and push, because there's some cleaning that happens inside that file during the process of doing the git commit and push to take out any metadata that shouldn't be in here. Otherwise, the histories in your Git repository become less useful because notebooks kind of clutter it up with all that metadata in the background. So that was down here somewhere. Okay. So we built the docs, commit to GitHub. Now you can check in the files with git commit, git push. Okay, let's do that. They're not saying to do anything special. Git commit, latest changes, git push. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, at git pushed, we can go back to GitHub, which I currently have sitting here. We can do a refresh, and we can see the mere 3 files that are in this repo. I'll of course be getting rid of this, but it doesn't have all that other stuff because I didn't commit all those other stuff, all those other things to the repo. I probably will be doing that in time, but the truth is a lot of this stuff is templated and was created by using nbdev locally, so I don't want to just go dumping it all in. I don't even know what contains credentials or not. I don't think anything does. This is all just using my GitHub credentials that I set up separately as part of another project. But we can look in these things and see what they look like. These should look like IPython notebooks from inside of GitHub, which is one of the really cool things. And so this is a great way to just send links around and share code to get started. There is inside that docs directory auto-generated real README files that I'll be able to put somewhere here. in GitHub.io. For people who don't know, there's a whole publishing system built into GitHub where you can take docs and host them for free, host websites on GitHub. So I'll be doing that in the future. I do believe that that covers it. I don't think there are particularly cleaning commands I do need to run, except before I close out the video, I want to make sure that I do review in my mind what they are, because I have this idea for some reason. So there's this continuous integration, CI. When you hear CI in IT, they're usually talking about continuous integration right now. Check the notebooks are readable with nbdev read nbs. Okay, and it's readable. Check the notebooks have been cleaned of needless metadata to avoid merge conflicts. All right. To check if there's no difference between the notebook and the exported library. Diff NBS. So nbdev, the concept is diff, and then it always ends with nbs. Okay, I'm getting the pattern here. So it's really just these middle commands surrounded by nbdev and nbs. And run the tests in your notebook. That should be an interesting one, nbdev test nbs. Test. Huh. Okay. I got stuff to fix. That is found no module named your lib. So it's just something that's being hidden from your lib. Core import all. Okay, maybe it's trying to tell me something. So that's in one of the files here. I remember this. That's import all from nbdev. Yeah, it's just part of the documentation. It's actually checking. So I would actually put SEOML overwrite. Oh, that must be the synchronization bit. Oh, this file has changed. Interesting. Okay, so anyway, save. That test should run a little bit differently now. Oh, and all the tests are passing. I guess that's a good place to end the video, because I definitely have dabbled with the testing system there. I have a little more idea about which ones. That is nbdev test singular, right? It's a singular that worked. nbdev test nbs. And so that's our hello world here. My next project is going to be starting from inside of here, and I think I'm going to wrap it up there, because this is an excellent starting point for the next video. Yeah. All right, you. Thanks for joining me. Hope to see you again soon, and don't forget to subscribe.